welcome to this new episode. Today we're going to talk about how to create bud vases for your table centerpieces. It's pretty straightforward, but there are a few things that you can do that will make your presentation just a little more polished, a little bit more professional, and will make you feel happier about how they turn out. We're going to use today a combination of flowers and foliage. Our flowers come in different styles or types, meaning line flowers, focal flowers, and transitional flowers. Okay. Focals are very straightforward. Your eye sees them, it holds them, it's a focal point. Line flowers, again, very straightforward. It's a line, carries your eye. Transitional flowers are not nearly as well understood, but these are a type of a flower that connects and creates movement between lines and focals, so that it carries your eye nicely through from one element to the other. In combination with our flowers today, we are going to use some foliage. You can choose whether you want foliage, don't want foliage. It all depends on what your style is like. But today we are going to use foliage with our flowers. So as I said, we've got our line flowers, which are snapdragons. We have some ranunculus, some roses, and some fujimums for our focal flowers. And as a transitional flower, we're going to use some of our hellebores, which are fabulous in the springtime, but they've also become quite a strong flower throughout the year, and I have no doubt they are going to become a very popular wedding option very soon. I think you're going to find that these are going to be the new ranunculus. Our foliage, I have some bushy foliage, which is my camellia. I love camellia. It's got a mid-sized leaf to it, not as large as a salal leaf. It's a little bit more refined than a salal leaf, so it's a little more delicate into these. It's got a lovely glossy foliage. It's a very garden feel to it. Then the other type of foliage that I'm going to use is some lily grass. Very airy, linear, and a nice opposition to our camellia foliage, which transitional shape. Okay? Similar to our hellebores, line, just like our snapdragons. One other element that I do have here is some pussy willow. And again, for a line flower, it's springtime right now, so pussy willows are fabulous, and I love them right now. So we have 6 bud vases to work with. The style right now is eclectic mix. You do want, for a cohesive look, it's good to use the same medium, meaning I'm using all glass, clear glass. If you want to take that eclectic style just a little bit further, you can mix your bud vases. Ceramic, glass, metal. What you do want to do, though, is make sure that they've got something in common that ties them together so it doesn't seem mismatched, like there's no intent behind it. You do want it to look intentional. So if you are going to mix your mediums, maybe keep within the same size of each other or the same color palette as what you're working with, or the same shape of what you're doing. You want to have a continual element coming through that. Okay? So that's just a little design tip to give you. So we are going to start with creating our vases. With this, you can do same types of flowers in one vase or random placement, whichever way appeals to you more and your own personal style. Something very important to keep in mind, though, is placement and height. The rule of thumb is 2.5 times the height of your vase for your maximum placement. That should be your maximum height. So if this vase is a 4-inch vase, another would be another 4-inch, and then you want another 2 inches on top of that, which makes, I don't think they're 4. I think they're probably a 5 or 6. So that's 5, 10, and then another couple of inches would be like a 12-inch height. So you really don't want to go any higher than that with whatever you're putting in there. So that being said, we can do 1 or 2 stems of the pussy willow. That's going to get you your height. And if you've watched some of our other videos, we've talked about sight lines to keep fingertips height. With the bud vases, it's not nearly as crucial because minimal bulk, very easy to see past. Okay, so this is about 2.5 height. So you don't want any of your other blooms to go above this height. But what you do want to start creating now is levels, interest in terms of heights, textures, and then composition. So we've got our beautiful pussy willow here, which is a nice line. Let's put in a bit of our hellebores, which will be a nice transitional bloom. It's very pretty. If we want to have a little bit of color to that, let's take a shorter snapdragon and tuck him in. And what you don't want to have happen is go beyond your height. So make sure. Now, I have 3 different heights here within the same vase, okay? Because that helps carry your eye through. Now, technically this snapdragon really is the same height as this, but if you see where the color ends, that's saying to your eye that that's the height, that's the height, that's the height. So you have some interest. The other thing that if you saw me do is I cleaned off, because when I put this stem in, a bunch of the blooms were mushing in there. So all I did was remove a little bit to create a cleaner stem. Just trim it to the height that you want it to be and pop it in, okay? That's a super sweet little composition there, all on its own. But now what we're going to do, we're going to work off of this. So there's number 1. Then what we're going to do is we're going to take another one. And we're going to build it in a similar way. Something to bear in mind if you're doing an outdoor wedding, do not go too high on your vases if you are in a windy place. You have to be really careful when you're outside and if there's going to be wind, strong wind. It's something to very much keep in mind because you don't want everything caught by the wind and blowing over. Bud vases tend to be top heavy because they tend to be very small, petite on the bottom without a lot of weight to them, and it's hard to integrate weight into them. You can do sand or stone, but then you also need to have your water in there, and then you also lose your transparency by putting a medium in there. So it's kind of a catch-22. It's a really sweet look, and it works great if you're in a nice protected area where it keeps the wind. But if you are in an open, if you're in an open field, if you're at a beach, you know, like farm fields, vineyards, that type of thing, if there's a strong wind that comes across a lot of open, you want to be cognizant of that, and you want to definitely bear that in mind before your wedding date, okay? So think about that. So we've got our lily grass in here. So what we can do now is let's put in a focal. Let's do our nice white Fuji mum. And I've put a sort of midpoint, okay? You don't want to jam it tight to the top if we're going to just have it as a feature, a focal on its own, okay? This is beautiful. It can sit all on its own just like that. If we were stacking them, we could bring one lower and put the other one up, but I'm going to leave this one as just a simple, okay? Next, we're going to do a little bit of some of our camellia foliage, just to give a bit of pretty color in here. Let's use a small one for this. too heavy. Okay, we have our beautiful roses. Let's get rid of the rose foliage because a lot of times it's not as pretty as other types of foliage. And I'm just getting rid of some guard petals that I still left there. Let's cut this down. I think with the rose, I'm going to add maybe another rose to it because I love them so much. And again, at this point, here's where we do want to stagger our heights, okay? There we go. So you can see that we've got a bit of a wave, a visual wave happening here. That will give us some interest. Let's take some snapdragons. And let's mix it with a little bit of a ranunculus. Let's move this out of the way so you can see what I'm doing. So here, this is just 2 flowers. You got a focal and a line. No foliage in it. Very simple, very clean, blending in beautifully. Okay. And again, your heights, you can see what we're doing here, right? And again, that's not coming any higher than 2.5 times your vase. So we're good on that. And we're left with 2 more. I got some beautiful hellebores here. Let's put him in. And let's pop him with some nice hot pink so that we really use the color palette together. You can just ruffle him up a little bit so he's got opening. I'm going to keep this one on the shorter side because we do have height happening. So I'm going to cut my rose a little short and tuck him in. And actually, I might want him a little bit shorter. Okay. I think a little touch of camellia in here would be beautiful for it. So I'm just going to find this little piece there. Okay. And we've got one more vase, and it's a petite one. I would like to mix, I only have one white happening. I've got lots of the pink, a touch of the green, but just one white. So I think what I want to do is integrate the white a little bit more, but give it pink hits. So we tie it all in visually. So I am going to do this one shorter. These have a heavy top, so I don't want them as their high point. I want to nestle the weight a little closer to the center of gravity on it so that visually it doesn't look unbalanced and make somebody feel a little bit like, oh, is that going to fall over? So we're going to nestle it a little bit lower, and then we'll use something lighter for a little bit more height to it. Okay, so we're tucking that one down low, and again, I might want to come just a little bit lower than my other white one. Not that they're going to be beside each other on the table, because who knows what the random placement will be. And then I think what I want is just a mix of the other event flowers through it without getting too overwhelming. And I feel like this one should have a bit of foliage just to soften it a little bit. So I'm going to take some of my lily grass, and a nice trick that you can do with the lily grass, there's 2 sides to it. One that has the spine that comes out the back, and one that is a smooth surface, and that's the front. If you take the edge of your fingers or thumbs and run it against the spine side, you can actually give it a little bit more of a curve, and it just makes it a little prettier, a little bit more whimsical. And then what I'm going to do is I'm just going to try to make them a little bit more of the same height or size, so I don't have one drifting way off into somebody's dinner plate. Okay, and just tuck those in. And there you go. Okay, so here is our palette. And again, don't put those two together. Then placement. What you want to do for placement is you want to make sure that you're carrying or moving the various heights throughout so that they have a really nice sense of eclecticness and visual movement. You want to make sure that your colors are staggered throughout it so that if somebody's at one end of the table, they don't just see all of one color. Here we've got some of our green and pink, white and pink, green and hot pink, pink, white, and then the pinks. So maybe if we wanted to, we could integrate a little bit of our green over here as well. And then because that carries our color palette just a little bit more through. Okay. So there's a really cute little composition. And again, you can decide when you're putting them on the table which should go where. Something else that you want to bear in mind, don't create a front and a back, particularly if you're using the long farm tables. Even if you're at a round table, don't create a front and a back because chances are people are going to see these from both sides. So make sure that you've given a little bit of interest, you know, on the back side as well as the front side. This one, it's got the hellebore on this side, it's got the rose on this side, it's got the foliage on that side, 3 sides. Okay. All right, so I hope you found that to be helpful and interesting. If you did like it, please like and share and let your friends know about it. If you do have any questions, you can definitely shoot me off an email. My email will be at the end of this video. And I'm always happy to chat. And if you want some guidance on what would be some good combinations, I'm happy to help you with that. We do offer the Bud Vases on our website for purchase as well. And so you can order those in. And hopefully you find that to be helpful. So thanks for tuning in this time. And happy flower arranging. Okay, I have a little bonus tip here for doing bud vases. You can certainly buy your vases with colored glass these days, but if you can't find what you're looking for, you can do food coloring in the water. Now, you're probably pretty savvy and you've probably already come across this tip, but if you have, sorry, if you haven't, then yay. So, the food coloring comes in a lot of colors now, especially if you go to a place where they handle baking supplies like Bulk Barn. Even the grocery stores, though, will have a good selection. I just have a basic selection here right now of the red, green, yellow, blue. And you can still make some good colors with that. So I'm just going to show you some things that you can do. If you're doing a Christmas wedding, Valentine's wedding, just a few drops of the red in the water, and the more drops that you give it to a certain degree will increase the intensity. So we've got this, and then just gives it a nice little bit of extra color on your table. Okay. So certainly you can do something like that. If you're doing like an ocean theme and you want sort of that light turquoise water, just try to do the littlest. And actually what you may want to do with this is make a bucket of it so that you can control how light that you make it. Because if you can just get a light drop, you can even make it to a lesser turquoise shade than this. This is a pretty one. If you're going with a strong navy, give it a couple extra shots. The more you give it, the darker it'll get. I'll save that for the next one, but I'll show you here a lot of times in the summer weddings we like to do the blue and the white. So this is a nice combination that you can do. And again, like we've staggered the heights, not too close to the lip of it so it feels like it's smushed in there. You want to allow it to have its space to be seen and appreciated. Okay, so that's another one. And now if you're going for a really dramatic, like black and white, black, white, green, what you can do with that is do your blues, do your reds together. And you can make it to a black. Now, the green, black, and white is a fabulous combination because the green and the white really pop against it. So I really like that one together. Particularly if you're on a white tablecloth, then definitely the black will work great. Can't fit too many blues into these vases because they are very closed. But that's your black. Very dramatic. But you can still have like a bit of softness with this. And of course, you know, you can do your yellows, greens. The yellow would be really pretty again with a summer wedding, especially if you're using lemons and yellow ranunculus or tulips, that type of a feel to it. Give it some real citrusy flavor. You can do the green with it. You can do the white with it. Don't put your don't do it too soon though with the darker ones particularly because they will take up watercolor and your flowers will start changing color. So just be aware unless you want that to happen, and then that's a good thing. And then again here with, if you wanted to do citrusy, you can do the yellow and the red, make a little bit of orangey shades. And what you can always do is once you have, you know, a variety of colors, you can just go online and see, you know, how to make this color, that color, the other color. But as I said, you can now actually buy a lot of purples, pinks, very popular. I can't make pink with what I have here because it does require a bit of a white mixed in with the red to give it that light. But they are available, so you can definitely find them, and you know, it adds just a little bit of interest to your vases. All right, that was your bonus tip. Enjoy.